The next line is PID 401, and it includes a bunch of items. However, the form doesn't allow you to add more lines for this item, so you'll need to keep a total on another document before adding it in here. The first item listed is appraisal. You'll only need to include this on your estimate if we are paying for the appraisals through a PRIAS contract, as opposed to the ROAPS paying for them. Most of the time, appraisal will be part of the ROAPS contract, so you will not need to put anything in here. If that's the case, you want to mention in the comments something to the effect of appraisal costs are included with the ROAPS cost in PID 600. If you are going to use a PRIAS appraiser, you can find their rates in their contract, which you can find in SharePoint. From the right-of-way division SharePoint page, on the left, click Contracts and Finance. And then in the middle, click Contracts. And then find the listing for the fiscal year that you're in for PRIAS appraisers. And then within this folder are all of the contracts for that fiscal year. You can open the contract that you need and look up their rates. Then you can ask the appraiser for a rough estimate of the hours that they'll need for this project. Now, make note, you will need to do this for the initial appraiser and the review appraiser. The next item is court costs, and these are the costs associated with condemnation. You'll need to estimate how many of your parcels will go through ED. You can do this by looking at the condemnation rate of your comparable parcel, and then see Tableau to determine the average cost for similar projects or parcels. The third item is title fees. These are the costs of the title insurance for the parcels we purchase. Title insurance is based on the purchase price of the property, so you'll need your list of estimates for each parcel that you made when you were estimating the land acquisition costs above. Then we'll need to look up the Texas Title Insurance rate sheet from the Texas Department of Insurance. Use the table to find the title insurance fee for each parcel based on the purchase price. Do this for each parcel and total them up. This will be the amount for this item, title fees. The next thing listed is the market rental fee. You should calculate that per parcel based on your estimate of the parcel's value. And you should assume that this will be paid on every parcel when creating your estimate. The market rental incentive is 10% of the parcel's value with a minimum of $3,000 and a maximum of $25,000. If you have a small or a cheap parcel, you use $3,000 because that's the minimum. Or if you have a really big, expensive parcel, you use $25,000 because that's the maximum. Otherwise, calculate 10% of your estimate of that parcel's value. Total those up for your entry for the market rental fee. The fifth item is removal of improvements. Earlier, when you were getting familiar with your project, you should have done a drive-by of your project and looked on Google Earth to see what improvements were present on the parcels that we'll be acquiring. Knowing what improvements there are, you can now use knowledge of past projects that had similar improvements removed. Look up documentation about those projects in your local shared drives or in OnBase to get information about the cost of those removals. The final item is fees in lieu of mitigation. This is something that is not used very often, so you're not likely to need to include anything here. If this will be used, your manager will give you guidance.